There it goes. We are now
Hello.
live. Yes. And I see that Carlos is already in the chat with us. Hi, Carlos.
Hi. Or should I say ahoy?
Ahoy. Yes, because he said ahoy. Thank you, Carlos. So thank you for joining us today. This is the Less Than Secret live stream chat with JD Laclede. He is the cover artist and editor for Less Than Secret, a cryptid anthology. How you doing today, my dude?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm doing great, all things considered. I got a cup of tea and I am ready to go. And Ben is also in the chat with us. Ahoy, ahoy, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
So, I'll just go ahead and get this question out of the way, or at least this topic of conversation. Part of the reason your name came up with this anthology was because Ben and Rainer reached out to me, and they were looking for some other contributors. And that was right around the time that you and I were talking, and you had mentioned that you wanted to cut back a little bit on stuff because of a shoulder injury. But I was like, but at the same time, you have a really good eye for writing and editing things. And I'm
thank
really
you.
like to get you on board as like in some capacity, whether that's an editor or not. And they were looking for editors. So that was why I had dropped your name with Ben and Rainer at the time. Yeah. So that's how that came about. Is this the first anthology project that you've edited?
This is the first anthology project I've edited, but it's not the first I've been involved with. Hi, Angela, in the chat. I've been involved in her Werewolves Versus series for a while. And previously I had done one called, what was it called? Enough Space for Everyone Else from like 2014, 15. I don't know if anybody remembers that one. That was like a science fiction anthology that tried to avoid topics of imperialism and conquest.
Which is really saying something for sci-fi.
It was a big effort to write stories that didn't involve space colonization.
Yeah. Well, kudos for that particular core message. I did actually see the book at my local comic shop back when I worked at a local comic shop. It was on the new shelf.
Yeah, I think you showed me that when we went there that one time. Yeah, my entry into that anthology was a little strange in that it kind of did involve space colonization, but it was like about building planets from scratch. And I was like, well, is there a way to colonize a planet without taking over another planet? I'm like, well, you could just build your own.
Yeah, and then
there's enough matter out there that you could.
Yeah, and then technically, I would almost say that's not really colonization, because that's creating something entirely new. Colonization is infiltrating something that already exists and appropriating it for yourself, or like pulling an Eddie Izzard and being like, do you have a flag?
No flag, no planet.
Exactly. But I'm not the expert on that sort of topic. That was never really my field of study when I was in school. You and I actually went to the same university.
Yeah, I believe we're the only ones in this group who went to the same university. Is that right?
Yes, because everybody else is either like friends with Ben or Rainer, or they all went to the Center for Cartoon Studies. Yeah, which I'm not going to lie, I was kind of looking at possibly going into their grad program, but then the final semester of senior year happened, and I was like, I am done with school. I need to get out.
Same.
Yeah, you get it.
History of North European art, hated it.
Oh my gosh.
Loved the class, hated the final. Oh man. Did I ever tell you about that final?
No, tell me more about it.
Okay. Oh wait, no, it wasn't that final. It was the other one, History of the Art of Polynesia. Which
I remember you telling me about that class.
Which that course I adored because it was really good. Like I had a totally unique topic I'd never seen taught anywhere else. Great for a Midwestern university to have that kind of insight, but the final didn't make any sense at all. Okay. So our instructor, like most art history finals, you like either write a paper or give a presentation or both or something like that, right?
Yeah.
What we were supposed to do is find 5 sources for a research paper
Oh dear.
and like get them approved, and that was it.
Wait, what?
There was no paper. There was no presentation. She never gave us instructions on writing a paper or anything like that. You were just supposed to turn in your 5 sources to her and get them approved, and then you didn't write anything.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and the messed up thing is a lot of people didn't realize that and showed up to the last day of class with written papers that she just wasn't going to look at.
Oh my god.
It was so confusing.
Oh, those poor wee bobbies.
I know, but like I thought I'd made a mistake the first time I did it. Like I looked through all the papers I'd gotten from that class. I'm like, wait, where are the instructions to write the paper? And there weren't any.
And that's when you realized, oh no.
And I'd done the work, so I was relieved. But like, is this it?
Yeah, that's really weird as far as art history goes. I'm going to guess that
it was extremely strange.
Very strange. Because
the only thing I could think was like maybe she assumed she would get that was a semester course.
Yeah.
Maybe she thought that she was getting a second class to teach the next semester, but no.
I don't know, man. Was she like new to the university? Or
no, she had been there for like 5-6 years.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Is this my best guess would be maybe she was like, maybe Polynesian art is like one of those fields of study that it can be really hard to find even 5 sources for anything.
I found a pretty good one. My project was going to be on filmmakers of Hawaii, but there was nothing.
Oh,
I didn't write anything about it.
Oh my gosh. But
I guess, yeah, someone had tenure, I guess.
Yeah, Ben mentioned someone had tenure. I'm going to guess that's what it was. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's just so weird. Because, like, I kind of wish I had that for my African art history, not going to lie.
I mean, I won't say the final wasn't one of the easiest I've ever had, just
right?
One of the most baffling.
That's so strange. Oh my
God. I almost feel worse for not doing the work because other people sweated their heads off.
Oh. At the same time, though, it's like, you know what? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, or the modern equivalent of that saying: if you're gifted a car, don't look under the hood. Yeah. Not gonna lie, I kind of wish I had that for my African art history, but then I wouldn't have discovered the weird connections of the color indigo between like a group of cliff-dwelling people and the ancestors who had lived there before them. Like that was really cool to study. There's like an area in Mali where the Dogon people live by someplace called the Great Escarpment, and the Great Escarpment is just a big old 1,000-foot 1,000-foot cliff drop. That's the word. And the Dogon people have been there for like centuries, but they migrated there. I don't know the exact dates anymore. It's been a while since I wrote this paper, but there were people who lived there before them. And there was assumed to be some cultural exchange between them because they had this like indigo cloth that both groups had. It was found with the original people who lived there first because they shrouded their dead with those cloths. But then the Dogon people started to like use those cloths as like a means to wrap up babies after they're born. So there's this kind of implication that the color indigo represents the spirit world. That was my thesis anyway.
All right. That seems fitting.
I think so, because like, you know, the dead go to the afterlife. The babies come from the space between where the dead reside and babies are born, and you know, all of that. It was cool to read about all this stuff, and it was cool to like find the evidence that helps support it. I didn't necessarily publish the paper because I'm not that nerdy. I kind of wish that I did, though, just to have that kind of clout to be like, oh yes, I had an academic paper published and it was all about the significance of the color indigo. But nah. At that time I had other things on my mind. Excuse me, I had to take a sip of tea.
Big sippy.
The sippy of the tea. So, okay, we talked about some of the weirder classes that we've taken. What was probably your favorite class, if you had to pick one?
At school, that's hard. I ended up taking. I had a weird university experience because you might remember me when I wanted to go in for animation, right?
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
And it turns out our school didn't actually offer very many classes in the way of that. So what I ended up learning instead was more television production, which I do occasionally use now and then.
Oh, nice.
But I think my favorite course. I don't know if you'd call it a favorite because it wasn't exactly a fun sit. But the one that sticks with me the most, I think, is Cinema of the Iraq War.
Oh.
Yeah, that was very compelling. That was like a weekly or bi-weekly course.
Yeah.
It's not really a genre of film most people think of anymore or ever.
So it's a class entirely about films about the Iraq War?
That's the interesting thing. So it's like a set of, it was like, well, we watched, I think it was like a 10 or 11 week course. We watched like a dozen movies. And like each person would give a report on one.
Ooh, yeah.
After we watched it. And like they're all, the unifying themes that they're either about the Iraq War or set in the Iraq War or have something to do with the Iraq War. But very few films are about the Iraq War, if that makes sense. A lot of them are more about war in general, or using Iraq to talk about some other issue, or even more, or sometimes in a couple of funny cases, using Iraq to talk about Vietnam.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. So The Hurt Locker, for example, have you seen that movie? It's the big.
I have not, but I have heard good things about it.
It's directed by Catherine Bigelow, Best Picture 2008, I think.
Yes, I remember it got an Oscar, which was, it was like, I think she was the first woman director to get an Oscar, and apparently this past Oscars, there was a second woman director who got the Oscar, which, good for her.
Yeah, it's only the second one in 92 Oscars.
I know.
Good progress, right?
Yeah.
But The Hurt Locker, although it is set in Iraq, it is not actually about Iraq specifically. It is more a movie about war set in Iraq, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's not really talking about the reasons why we went to war in Iraq in the first place. It's just more about
that is the big unifying thing, because Iraq war movies can't actually comment about the war if they want to get made. Yeah. Because if you want your movie to be released in America, unspoken thing, you cannot criticize the US military.
Yeah.
If you do, it means your film isn't going to be released in America. Which means that it's probably not going to make any money because movies are still very expensive.
Yep. It reminds me of something that I heard through the grapevine. I think it's true. Of way back with the first Avengers movie, the reason that they were denied government funding from the military was because they criticized the military even just a little bit. They didn't even comment directly on any specific war. It was that one throwaway scene where Nick Fury was like, I recognize that the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid ass decision, I've elected to ignore it. Which, that's a great line. That movie has a lot of great one-liners. I will give it that. Considering everything that's been revealed about Joss Whedon, though, I have mixed feelings about revisiting a lot of his work.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, there's some great characters in his oeuvre, but at the same time, it's like, it's kind of the same thing that I felt when I found out about Adam Baldwin, the guy who played Jane in Firefly and Serenity.
What happened to him?
He's just
did he go hard on Gamergate or something?
That's part of it.
I seem to remember something about that.
Yeah, back when that was a thing. But let's not get too far into that. Let's not
go into deep. But like even Marvel eventually would reverse course on that decision and be fairly pro-military. Like Captain Marvel, the movie, is basically just a recruitment ad for the Air Force.
I stopped watching the Marvel movies after, what was it?
I stopped at Endgame.
I haven't even seen Endgame.
Okay.
There's a part of me that wants to watch Black Panther because the African art history nerd in me wants to watch it to see how many nods to African art history there are in the film.
I feel like you'd love Black Panther because I have no perspective on Afrocentrism or Afrofuturism, and I loved it.
Yeah, there's just so much about the genre that I love, which is, on the one hand, it might feel a little weird to say that as like a white person, but at the same time, there's just a lot about African art that the more you learn about it, the more you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm so glad there's commentary about this sort of thing.
Yeah, but it's also just like a topic and an art style that I never see in Western American movies. Like, wow, what a shot in the arm this is.
Right?
What a breath of fresh air.
Yes. That's why I was so happy when it even came out. I was like, finally, a movie with African art all over it. And there's like Afrofuturism involved. And it's so good to see this on the screen. I'm so happy. And yet I still haven't seen it.
Oh, there's no rush.
Yeah, at this point, there's no rush anyway, because it's been out of theaters for a long time. At the same time, I almost wonder if my local theater is going to carry it. I have a theater in the little town that I moved to. They have a it's historical. It has like a historical facade to it. Somehow they still keep this thing running. I'm amazed. But what they do is they run. Not B footage. What's the word? They take
B movies.
What was it?
B movies.
I wish. I feel like they would probably get more people if they rolled B movies. What they do is they take movies that have been out of theaters for what historians would call a long ass time, and just play them on the screen. Like, I think this week they're playing How to Train Your Dragon 3 and like one other movie.
Oh.
Yeah, and they like,
and that's cost effective?
Apparently. I think they more or less keep the theater around as a almost like a rec center deal where they rent out rooms for events. And they just kind of keep the movie theater part going as like a historical I don't even know the word for this. But like a historical thing where it's like, look at this old ass building still being used for the purpose that it was built for.
Is it like a national landmark building or something?
I don't, I've only been in this town for maybe a year, and there's still a lot about it that's still a mystery to me. I almost wonder if it's like a landmark. That's the word. If it's like a historical landmark of some sort. I have no idea.
Who knows?
Who knows? But, historical landmarks are like, I like them. I have an appreciation for them. But I am biased. Largely because of you remember this, but most people listening to this probably don't know. I lived in Phoenix for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you came by and you stopped by when you were on your way to California, like the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you in California?
I'm currently on attempt number 3.
Oh boy!
Isn't this fun?
Yeah. Well, best of luck on this third attempt. Third time's the charm, right?
So far it's going good. Me and my boyfriend have an apartment and a nice place, and we're thinking of getting a condo maybe next year. So
that sounds really nice.
So yeah, fingers crossed. Wood knocked.
Knock on wood.
I've tried this multiple times. It's probably unwise to keep doing it.
I feel there's a part of me that kind of wants to go back to Phoenix to give it another try, and at the same time I'm like, oh no.
At least it's cheaper than this place.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it that, but at the same time there's no natural water in Phoenix. All of it is imported.
Really?
Yeah.
Never would have guessed.
Yeah, I know, right? Like,
wait, wasn't the town built on like an aquifer or something, or is it dry?
It's technically dry. What it is they divert a portion of the Colorado River to run through it like once a year. Yeah. Or I think it's like once a year, but like there is an aquifer for a part of the Colorado River to like run through. So they do get water that way, but there's no like natural running water in that basin, like at all. Yeah. Which is like, I don't even know how that happens because they have mountains surrounding the entire city. You would think that with snow melting off that some of that would get down there, but no.
I don't pretend to understand how water infrastructure works.
I don't pretend either, and I don't pretend to know how Phoenix works. Phoenix is a weird monster. Santa Fe, though, if you ever go to Santa Fe, that is a fun city to visit.
Never been.
Oh, man. So, okay. There is actually a building there called Meow Wolf.
Okay.
Yeah. It's... I think the building in Columbus that's the closest to Meow Wolf is like Other Worlds. Columbus, Ohio. I mean,
yeah, I've never been there.
Okay, so I'll just talk about Meow Wolf. So Meow Wolf is like an art museum and a jungle gym mixed with some of the trippiest like soundscapes that you've ever heard.
Okay.
Yeah, Carlos seems to know about it. I think I've told Carlos about Meow Wolf multiple times. I talk about this with everybody that I know. So they have one part of the building because it's a converted bowling alley. Mm-hmm. And the story behind it is that George R.R. Martin, who does reside in the Santa Fe area, saw that Meow Wolf was an art collective that existed. And he had gotten a bonus from HBO, and he was like, I don't know what to do with this money. So he just bought a unused bowling alley of a building, looked at Meow Wolf, and went, do with this building what you will.
Okay.
And that is the conceit of Meow Wolf.
All right.
Yeah.
I've heard worse setups.
Yeah, same. So what they did with the building was one part of it is like an adult maker space. There's another part of it that's a kids maker space. There's a gift shop, but the main attraction is called the House of Eternal Return. So when you first go in, there's this like little hallway that you walk through, and at the other end of the hallway, there's this television with a guy who's like backlit so that you can't see his face, and he looks like a government official, and he's like, whatever you do, interact with the scenery at your own risk. It is connected to a rip in the fabric of space and time. And then you open up the door and there's this like 2-story Victorian house.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
What it is as you explore the house, you come across more spaces. It's almost like the imaginations of the people who used to live in that house are shaping the rest of the house. So like if you go into the space that's underneath of the stairs and you go into that little cubby hole, you walk in and there's another cubby hole and you go through that and it leads into a forest.
Okay.
And then there's actually a hallway that you can walk down that's outside of the house. You walk down that hallway and there's like neon green trees and the soundscape sounds like it's all underwater. And there's this like scuba diver from like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with the great face grid and everything. And there's like, there's a statue of this guy just carrying a little treasure chest, walking around. And you go through that and then you go through a cave and there's a little crawl space in that cave. You walk through it and you end up in the living room of the house.
Okay.
And in the living room of the house, there is a fish tank with neon trees and a little tiny scuba diving figure. Yeah.
That's cool.
The entire house is like this. It is such a great destination. If there's ever a time where I can take like all of my friends there to like explore the place, I would totally do it. They keep adding new rooms too. It is marvelous. Apparently, Carlos mentioned they have a Las Vegas location. They also have a Colorado location. The first time that I had visited, they mentioned a Colorado location. Oh yeah, the Vegas one is the supermarket themed. Yeah, they're on Instagram. Check them out on Instagram because
right.
Looking at the images, you get a really good feel of like what the entire space is like. Same with their like pseudo shopping mall thing, the supermarket thing that they got going on in Vegas. Because I've seen this stuff on Instagram for that. A lot of the products are like meat in a can and like straightforward abstract stuff.
Oh my God, they have it! Canned bread!
Exactly, yes. So if there's ever a time, Ben mentioned we are definitely going. Yes, if there is a way that we can all go, I would love to have that happen.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
There's no real structure to these sorts of chats. Like we talk about whatever.
All right.
Okay, so I talked about Meow Wolf, and I will say that Meow Wolf is a big inspiration for a lot of what I do. So whenever you're looking for inspiration or ideas, what do you turn to? I know that sometimes I can see a little bit of like Polynesian influence in some of your art.
Sometimes. I would say it's probably more like, I mean, I did adore that course, but Polynesian art is it's a little hard to incorporate into furry art, if that makes sense.
Oh no, I totally get it.
Like, especially got to be sensitive about appropriation and all those things.
Oh yeah.
I think I might actually draw more on my like knowledge of like Northern Renaissance Europe.
Ooh.
I took a course on that. That's a big inspiration for Ellen Dawn. Like if you know anything about the works of like Albrecht Dürer or Peter Bruegel, just the tone of those works kind of comes through in Ellen Dawn, especially. One thing I wanted to do when I was writing that story is that every chapter begins with a frontispiece, like you would see in an old illustrated book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the especially the religious alphabet, I wanted to make it look like not specifically like this because it's just like a code cipher. It's not it's not supposed to be anything. But I was like, what if the Quran was written on a Gutenberg press?
I love that.
Yeah, that's sort of what I derived. Like those aren't actually Arabic characters, but
it's iterative enough.
Yeah, I wanted it to sort of think like that. It's like it's two different religions, two different religious inspirations for a fictional religious concept.
Yep, I love that you like took those two disparate things and you just like mashed them together, and or at least you found like a connection between the two, so that it's not so much like mashing two separate chunks of Play-Doh. You know what I mean?
No. Although there is actually something a little disturbing that you have to pay attention to when you're writing fictional stories, and that is so in English and Spanish, El in Don doesn't mean anything. It's just two words that I thought sounded sort of evocative and cool.
Yeah.
What I did not know until it was too late that the word in Don is an outdated offensive term for someone from Indonesia.
Oh.
Yeah, it would be like the equivalent of like using a certain 3-letter word for someone of Japanese descent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I did not know that until it was too late. I'd already written the story and gotten the website and been writing it for years, and it was just too entrenched to go back and change anything. So I was like, well, I guess I'll sit with this mistake, I guess. I mean, the story's not about people from Indonesia. It's not set in Indonesia. I don't know anybody from Indonesia. I'm sure they're all fine.
Yeah.
But like, this is why we got to be careful. We got to do our research.
Yeah. Sensitivity readers, they're an absolutely invaluable resource. I know, it's not as extreme of an example, I don't think, but I know that you did that with Ben's story that he did for Less Than Secret, actually.
Oh yeah, are we apropos to talk about that since it's not out yet?
Oh, we can talk about Less Than Secret, yeah.
No, I mean specifically that story.
We can talk a little bit about it, like not to get too spoilery, but we can talk about like because I know that you helped a lot with the editing process for that. Yeah,
I actually. The editing on this collection was really fun because I had very little to change about most of what people did. Like pretty much everybody in this collection, their art's all really good. Their writing's all really good. It was mostly punch up, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, well, I didn't really run into any like serious failures of premise that meant you had to start everything over.
Yeah. Well, I feel like
he says he talked about it in his interview. Okay.
Yeah. Ben talked a bit about it on his interview, which, by the way, you can catch that on my YouTube channel if you're so interested in watching that after being done with this live stream. It's all archived and everything. Shameless plug done. So
shameless what? Where are we?
I know, it's not like we're doing this to talk about Less Than Secret on Kickstarter right now at tinyurl.com/.
You can support it now for the next 2 days.
Oh man.
But yeah, Ben's story, A Mother's Love, was originally when I read it in like the script phase.
Yeah.
Before there was art. Mm-hmm. It was written as a sort of like Western cowboy family fighting off chupacabras, right?
Right. Yes.
And part of the concept was that one of the 42% more shamelessness.
Yeah, Ben said that plug needed about 42% more shamelessness to meet quota. I'll work on it next time, Ben.
So, like the natural setup of that is like frontier people fighting off the nature that is around them.
Yes.
And like the residents that are around them. The problem is that has a lot of subtext with settler versus native stereotypes.
Yep.
Now, as if it were a fantasy story, that can usually be fine because that subtext is sort of implied in all frontier stories. It's just an uncomfortable fact of it. The problem was that it would mean that the analog for native people in this context were literal bloodthirsty monsters.
Yeah, literal goat suckers.
Yeah, so that part had to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it helps to be the editor to catch that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it was heavily revised so that they are no longer they're goblin settlers in a more fantastical world. So there's like that extra degree of separation. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, that is fine.
Yeah.
I think we made enough space between, but I am white. I do not have native experience. I could not tell you. I'm just trying to make it as acceptable as possible.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, being an editor and being a creator, you do your best, and the important thing is to not get defensive when somebody points out this sort of thing.
Right.
And I'll admit that there have been points where I was working on a story, and thankfully these stories that I have worked on where this has been an issue, I have not published. These were all things that like I was scripting, and then I would like talk about certain ideas with peeps, and they would bring up something like, "Oh, this references this thing that's super duper uncomfortable," and I would be like, okay, so how can I make that different? Which that's a fine dance to dance around. Because it's like, on the one hand, you had this idea and you want to execute it. On the other hand, you want to be mindful about how it is that you're using that particular context. Like with the example of Ben's story, I know Ben well enough that he was fine changing the story because it was not his intent to push a colonizer or white settler narrative.
Right. And like I never assumed that was the case.
Right. Exactly. Carlos brought up a good point. He was like, flexibility is key. Yeah. The important thing, I think, is knowing what the core message of the story is and being able to bring that further forward and changing up the context and the details as much as you need to make that story resonate. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Bren brought up, I was going for more of a wild animal situation than native people, but thanks to JD, I knew to make that more clear. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Cause like, that was the core of Ben's story. Ben's story was not about a white colonizer narrative. It was about cryptids.
Yes, but the subtext could have been read into it if we weren't careful.
Exactly. But it's important to like have an outside reader catch that sort of thing and be like, wait a second, you might be veering a little too off course from the core message. Here's how to get back to it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, editing this anthology was actually a lot smoother than I expected.
Yeah. Well, I think you have a really good editing brain for this sort of thing. But I could sing your praises all day because you're honestly a legit good character and comic artist.
Validate, please.
I will validate my guess, good sir. No, I'm serious.
But no, thank you. I mean,
yeah,
I mean that.
Oh, well, I'm being serious too. Like when I found out that you were doing El and Dawn, which I understand why you put that story aside. At the same time, I really liked the world building that you were doing for that, and oh my god, your page layouts, man! Like, yeah, like I'm for good page layouts.
Well, for people in the audience probably don't know, I currently write a comic called Ask the Werewolves, which is a blog and a comic book series. But that's actually my second project. The first one is Ellen Dawn, which is a fantasy story I've been writing on and off since 2012 or so.
Yeah.
And I have to put it down a lot more than I want to because it's just not as popular as the other one, and it doesn't make a lot of money.
People
and also,
really like their monsters.
People also like Ask the Werewolves for being a romantic comedy, and Ellen Dawn is a dark fantasy, which is a little, let's say, saturated in the market these days.
A little.
There's a lot of that. Also, it's a lot more of a downer. There's a lot less fun or comedy at least, or outright comedy at least in Ellen Dawn. Ask the Werewolves is mostly about jokey jokes and furry appeal.
Oh yeah, and there is definitely a market for that. I have not actually read Ask the Werewolves. Oh my gosh, words. I've not read that story yet, so I can't really comment too much on it.
I'm currently working on issue number 5.
I'm going to need to catch up on it. My goodness.
Yeah. It's okay. When I do this thing where like when a new issue is out, all the other issues go on steep discount, so people don't have to pay like $30 to catch up.
Oh, that actually sounds really nice.
Yeah.
I also saw that you use, I think it's
itch.io. Yeah.
Itch.io. I've not used that yet. So how's that service going for you?
Pretty well, actually. My only real complaint with it is that its widget doesn't integrate with hardly any other website. So if you want to host an itch link, it has to be either a direct link or their iframe, which doesn't really work on like it doesn't work with card.co websites, for example. So I still have to figure out how to put that in the new website I want to make. But otherwise, itch is very, very good. They let you choose the cut they take from 100 to even as low as 0. You can just not give itch money if you don't want to.
Wow.
And they host, they also have this feature where if you're a game publisher, they can play your game in your browser now.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, like Pico 8 and Pico 16 games can just run in your browser.
That's amazing. I did see that there were a lot of like indie game devs who used itch.io. I didn't realize that was a feature, and now I know why they would use it.
Yeah, like I think they just added that like a couple of years ago. That's
still cool.
But yeah, I really recommend Itch because it's free. There's no like monthly fee, unlike with like Shopify or WooCommerce.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to use that then.
And unlike Gumroad, they allow adult content. Gumroad does not.
Ooh, that's actually good to know too. I've been playing with the notion of getting into more not safe for work stuff, but I haven't moved forward on it yet because it's kind of hard to find publishers for that sort of thing online.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, you know all about it.
Yeah, it seems like every couple of months, Patreon has a new rule. I'm like, nope, can't post this either. I'm like, well, I guess I'll keep posting until they ban me, which might be closer than I think.
Oh man, well, best of luck to you, my dude. I honestly wish there were more alternatives besides coffee, or Ko-fi, either one. I pronounce it coffee, even though it's like Ko-fi.
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 Co-fidelity.
Yeah, Co-Fidelity. So I switched over to Co-Fidelity because you and I talked about it before, and
Oh yeah,
like
Patreon's a whole.
Patreon is a whole, and yeah, there was a point where you and I have talked about this privately, but I'll go ahead and say it publicly. Patreon has a tendency to drop high tier pledges without informing the artist.
Yep.
Yeah, which I'm not a fan of. And I was getting really tired of having to reach out to my regular patrons and being like, by the way, Patreon dropped your pledge again for the third month in a row. So
can you please check?
Yeah. So I switched over to Co-Fidelity.
Yeah. I'm like, it wasn't doing great for me either because not this sounds like a brag. I promise you it's not. I make 4 digits on Patreon, which puts me in the Patreon community high rollers forum, basically, where you basically vent to a Patreon representative and they don't help you.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
Yeah, you want if you feel jealous about other people making money on Patreon like more than you, don't. We're not getting help either. They just ignore us. Yeah.
Patreon support sounds a lot like HP support, which is like not.
Oh, you mean HP? Where like their number one suggestion is buy a new printer?
Yeah, exactly.
The printers don't work and they never will.
Yeah, I've been having issues with mine because, as it turns out, the manufacturer did a nifty little trick where the IP address for my printer changes every time it falls asleep.
What?
I am not joking. That I don't know. I'm guessing this is an attempt at a safety feature. All it is a pain in the ass.
What are you using it for?
Well, right now I'm not using it at all.
Well, I mean, obviously, but what were you using it for?
Largely, it's just a home-based printer for, printing up contracts and things like that.
I was going to ask if you're using it for shipping labels. Thermal printers are usually a lot better.
Ooh, that's good to know. Yeah, I
have a neat little. I just bought it this year. I got a Brother QL100, I think it's called.
Ooh.
It's like you just put a big roll of thermal stickers in it, and that's how I do all my shipping labels now.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to give that a try because,
no ink, no nothing.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really nice. That sounds really, really nice, actually. It's a good thing that this particular stream gets archived so that I can reference this later. Because I definitely want to check that out. I don't usually ship printing labels. I just handwrite all of mine because right now I get so few online orders. Thanks, Store Envy, for burying my shop. Yeah. It's one of the reasons I was asking you about itch.io because I'm looking for an alternative to Store Envy. I'm kind of tired of dealing with them.
Are you selling physical products?
I have a lot of physical products, yeah.
Okay. Big Cartel might actually be better for you because I use Itch for my digital stuff because it has no hosting fee.
Ooh, okay.
And for my physical stuff, I use Big Cartel. Now, Big Cartel can use digital, but there's an extra integration that costs money.
Yeah, Store Envy's a lot the same way, where it's you want to sell digital stuff? Get this extension that costs this much per month. And I'm like, nah. I
mean, I could if I wanted to put everything in one place, but people already have the link.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would I? But Big Cartel is good because it integrates with another service that I think we've talked about called Pirate Ship.
Yes, and I love the name of that because I'm a sucker for pirates.
Really, you?
Yeah, I know you know, but most people watching this might not know that I draw a comic entirely about pirates.
But Pirate Ship basically just gives you the USPS commercial rate discount on every label you buy.
Oh, nice.
Which is often not the fastest service, but always the cheapest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if your customers don't get bent out of shape waiting for about a week to get their stuff, which mine, thank God, do not. Thank you, patrons. Then Pirate Ship was a really good choice.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to check that out then. I've been looking at Big Cartel too. I think they have a limit of listing 5 items for free.
Yeah, it starts to cost money after 5.
Yeah, which I'm perfectly fine with listing only 5 items at a time if it means I get to either bundle stuff or do like limited runs on things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I've been, not gonna lie, I've been looking at downsizing the amount of merchandise that I have so that I can make new stuff from scratch, because a lot of the stuff that I offer or offered, because 2020 put an end to a lot of conventions.
Yeah.
We'll see if I go to any this year. I'm kind of leaning towards no, but
I mean, I'm also leaning towards no. I might do the one in Reno because they rescheduled to like October. I'm like, maybe that'll be safe, but that's still a maybe.
Yeah. I know there's one in Cleveland called Genghis Khan. Yes, that's the name. I love the name.
Good.
It's fun. They're a indie and small press comic convention. Like, most of the people who exhibit there are like absolute punks.
Don't sell yourself short.
But I have showcased there before. I have a great time every time that I go. They usually happen the Sunday after Thanksgiving, which is generally like a weird time to have a convention to begin with. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, hey, maybe because it happened so late in the year, they might actually be able to hold it this year, because they had to cancel last year anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And an offer from Ben, which I'm sure extends to you, JD, is you're always welcome to join my tables when you can.
Oh, I'd love to. But it's just a question of like, well, now living on the West Coast, there are just fewer cons out here.
Yeah.
Not just fewer furry cons, just fewer cons, period.
Yeah, that was something I didn't realize about living in Phoenix until I moved there. I thought there would be a lot more conventions out west, but no, there are not. Most of them are on the East Coast, which is
fandom's own moon colony.
Yeah, it's
and like
how that happens.
Yeah, and like for example, like Midwest Fur Fest, which is the biggest furry convention in the world. That's the one I was guest of honor at in 2018. I almost never go. Like the first time I went was the time it was free for me, because it's just like A, it's in Chicago, and B, it just happens at the worst time of year, like December 7th or so.
Oh my gosh!
It's like right in between all the big holidays when travel's already really expensive. It's just. I would love to go, but like it's just always so inconvenient.
Yeah. Also, what the heck? Convention in Chicago in December. That is a recipe for getting snowed in.
I know, right? But the thing of it is, they go to like, what's the place called? Not the Renaissance Center. Rosemont something. It's an enormous like business complex. And the way they solve it is that they have a lot of skyways between buildings that are all heated.
Oh, man.
Yeah, which is convenient when you want to get places without being snowed in. Deeply inconvenient because now it means the venue is about 5 buildings bigger, and you have to walk everywhere.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that sounds a lot. I almost said it sounds a lot like YumaCon, but YumaCon is an entirely separate beast. Have you been to YumaCon before?
I don't. Which one is that? Is that Detroit?
That's in Detroit. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I will say, as far as anime conventions go, it's one of the biggest ones that I've been to. I think MatsuriCon is like a close second in my personal experience. Anyway, I know that there are bigger ones in the United States, but YumaCon's one of the largest ones that I've been to. Also, I got to meet Damien Clark, the voice actor for Cell from Dragon Ball Z, and a bunch of other properties. And like, I told people in previous streams I will find a way to work this topic of conversation into every conversation that I'm a part of. But like, y'all, I cannot express enough the amount of hype that I felt when I realized that Damien Clark was going to be there signing autographs.
And it was perfect.
It was perfect. Oh my God. It was so funny because like I actually drew up a little perfect cell for him as like a little gift, because I was like, I genuinely want to give him something. I don't know what, but I had my sketchbook on me at the time. And I was like, okay, I'll draw up perfect cell. Why not? I think he would appreciate that. So I like drew it up, and he playfully tried to take my sketchbook away from me. And I was like, no. He's such a troll in real life. It's great.
Kelsey mentioned DBZ. Take a shot.
Yes, exactly.
Also, Ben. Yeah, you would think that wearing a fursuit would keep you warm until you realize that the entire convention center is heated.
Oh no!
So now it's a sweat box.
Oh no!
Sort of a running joke that the convention navigation hallways are just the microwave hallway from Metal Gear Solid. Snake's just crawling through and his suit is exploding.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I know what one you're talking about because I had an ex who was like obsessed with the Metal Gear Solid games. No idea why. But like he tried to get me to play the first game and I was absolutely petrified on the first level. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
With in front of the elevator?
Yeah, but I didn't know what was going on. And up to that point, like all of the PlayStation games that I had ever played had that universal jump button of X, but X is not jump in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, so there's no jumping in Metal Gear Solid.
There is no jumping in Metal Gear Solid, apparently. And I did not realize that until the game started because I was not given any context for it at all. I went in completely blind.
That's as someone who likes that game, it's not a good way to go into Metal Gear Solid.
No, it isn't.
You got to be briefed at least a little bit.
Yeah, I was not given any kind of context, and I was not given any kind of like indication of how the controls would work. He was just like, "Here, play the game," and I was like, "Okay." So I tried it, and I kid you not, the first time that the like alarm noise went off, I saw the enemy start to approach me, and I panicked and I hit the power button. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what the attack button was. I didn't know what button I used to shoot anything. Again, I was given no context.
Just press the note button and the game is over.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I just hit the note button. Oh my god, it was so genuinely awful. I do want to revisit the series now that I have some context because I've seen the cutscenes for pretty much all of the games.
If you do, I would say just play Metal Gear Solid 1 for the PlayStation. All the others are really hit or miss.
Yeah, that's
as much as I like that series. Looking back on it, it ages a little worse every year.
Yeah, I chalk that up to Hideo Kojima because like that series is his baby. I will say too,
but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just sore on auteur theory, period, not just in video games.
Oh yeah, I can see that because like video games are a collaborative effort, and like directors can provide a vision and they can provide guidance, but it is not their game.
No.
Yeah, so I get that on that front. I had a topic. I had something in mind.
Conventions?
No, we were talking about Metal Gear Solid and it's something about the gameplay. Oh, the cutscenes. Watching the cutscenes, like I think Metal Gear Solid 4 was the most aggravated that I had ever been with a video game.
Oh, that's the worst one in the series. Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 4 is the worst.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way.
Yeah, because it's just a playable movie in like all the worst ways.
Yeah. I don't know, man. After seeing the movie version of Asura's Wrath, like have you seen how they made Asura's Wrath like basically a movie?
Yeah, it's basically just a playable movie.
Yeah. Exactly. I feel like though Asura's Wrath is a bit more enjoyable than Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, because your interaction is limited.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also like I don't know, man. Like I was thinking about Asura's Wrath earlier today, and it's like, oh man, the
fight choreography and the boarding in that game is so good.
It is, and also
especially the fight on the moon.
Oh my god, right.
It's very impressive that like the key conceit of Asura's Wrath is that these people fighting are immortal, and no matter what they do to each other, they won't die. But they still manage to effectively tell you that this hurts like hell.
Yeah, they do a really good job of like conveying that visceral feeling about it.
Yeah.
It's also just high emotional drama, which is like, oh, this is so good, especially considering like the overall plot of this thing. It's like, oh yes.
Asura's Wrath, it honestly probably is better to watch it as a show, but you can just, you want to pay $60 just for like 2 seasons of an anime that's on your Xbox? Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on that, honestly. And like I found out about the series.
Yeah, Rainer is right. It might just be better as a Let's Play, honestly.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play Asura's Wrath. The fights look so cool. Maybe I should just find a Let's Play of it. It sounds about the same.
It's honestly not very different, if I'm frank.
Yeah, not very. I will say somebody actually made like Asura's Wrath the movie, where like they.
Oh, is it just like a clip show?
They took all of the cutscenes, and I don't even know that there's any like game combat that's portrayed in this thing, but it just takes all of the cutscenes and made it into like one giant ass movie that's like 7 hours long.
I mean, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I started watching that for more context, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool to watch.
There's also like a couple of like DLC chapters that like they wanted to put in the game, but they just didn't animate, so it's just storyboards.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for storyboards because they're just that much similar to comics that I would totally watch that. But I'm a dork. But, you know, it's funny talking about storyboards because you had talked about originally studying animation. I almost started studying animation as well.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason that I didn't was because Bowling Green just didn't have the programs for it.
Yeah, and I didn't really pick up on that until it was too late. That's me being dense, but
that's okay. To be fair, I had thought that they would have more stuff that I could tailor towards studying and learning comics, like the making of comics and the production of comics, which they kind of do, but it's only available to BFA students, and I was not on that track. Yeah, which I have thoughts.
Don't go to college, kids.
I mean, there are other alternatives.
Not everybody needs it. Not everybody needs it right away. Think really hard before you commit to a 4-year degree like we did.
Yeah, exactly. I am glad that I committed to it, if only because A, the friends that I made there, B, it did give me a really nice portfolio of stuff, and also it got me the gig of drawing caricatures at amusement parks.
Oh yeah, you and I have that in common too. We both worked at amusement parks.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that you worked at an amusement park for a while. Well, in what capacity did you work in the amusement?
Glad you asked. Actually, I've actually done this twice. The first time was the Disney College program in, I think, junior year. I went down to Florida and worked at Disney World for about for like a summer and a half. And then later, after senior year was over, I did the same thing and went to California to work at Disneyland.
Was that your first outing in California? Because you've mentioned going to California 3 times.
Yeah, I've tried it 3 times. That was attempt number 1.
Okay.
Yeah, but Disney World in Florida was also big because it was it's a big opportunity. I sort of mark that as like I call it like my panic year because I had the summer away from school, no art assignments, no nothing. I was like, and like being in junior year, I sort of have this weird epiphany moment. I was like, I look at my art and I'm like, I'm not good enough.
Oh.
Yeah, I had sort of I guess you'd call it like the time skip.
Yeah.
the anime time skip happened to me. Is like I just spent those 7 months just practicing over and over and over and over, barely doing any like outside stuff. It was something.
Yep, but then you'd look
like it was like I had a job where like I would wake up at 4 a.m., go to work, start at 5, get home at 2 in the afternoon, and then just spend the afternoon drawing. Until I fell asleep and did the whole thing again.
That, you know what though? Kudos for getting up at 4 in the morning. I had a job that like I would have to wake up at 5 to start work at 7, and that was not fun.
No.
Yeah. So like feel you on the first shift life.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily fun.
I mean, I didn't hate it. It's just that it was a rough wake up every day.
Yeah.
The morning shift is okay because it means your evening is always free.
That is something I will give that credit for. And that was about the only reason that I ever tolerated it, was that, oh, yes, I have the entire rest of the day to myself. But then it means you have to go to bed at like 9 o'clock in the evening or something.
Oh, yeah. Or earlier.
Yeah. Depending. And it always kind of sucks, especially in the summer, because it's like, but the sun is still out.
No.
I mean, not that I go outside anyway.
Anymore.
Well, even back then, I was such an indoor kid. Like,
yeah, same.
Yeah.
But also, it's Florida. It's humid. If you don't have a car, there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, and also Florida is just god awful in the summer. Because, like,
then again, you get free passes to Disney World every day, so
well,
I can think of worse. I can think of worse predicaments.
Yeah, that's true. I will say, working at Cedar Point, because I worked at Cedar Point. That was one of the perks of working there, was, hey, whenever you're done with your shift, you can go ride on the rides if you want. And it's like, oh, cool. Didn't jump on that a whole bunch, but the option was always there. Funny story though, is there was actually a booth for the caricature artists on the Wild West Trail. The Wild West Trail had a petting zoo. And at this petting zoo, there was always one chicken that would escape from the pen, make her way over to the caricature booth, and just nest in the corner of the counter. Okay. Which at the time I called her Bob because I didn't know what gender the bird was. I would be like, God damn it, Bob. And I would have to pick her up and
God dang it, Bobby.
God dang it, Bobby, and pick up the bird and take it back over to the petting zoo. But there was one time that she came over, she made herself a little nest, she sat down, and she popped an egg. And I'm like, Roberta! So, it became a running gag that summer of, anytime that we saw a chicken out of the pen, didn't matter what chicken it was, one of us on the team would be like, God damn it, Roberta.
She cannot be contained.
She cannot. Carlos brought up in the comments, who knew college was just a friend's tax? I mean, it's not an accident.
Did I get tricked by a friend's scalper?
Things that Carlos is making us say out loud. Oh man, no!
Oh god!
I mean, I did learn a bunch, and there was a comics and cartooning club on campus that I was a part of for a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because I think you were involved in it. I don't
a little bit. I don't remember how much we did there.
Yeah, I don't remember if we were involved in the club at the same time. I really don't.
I think it might have been that we were, didn't we both have lots of studio classes, and those were really demanding?
Yes, because the studio classes at BG are they demand every inch of time that you got.
Yeah, it was kind of unfair, honestly.
Yeah,
I took printmaking 301, and I hated that.
Oh my god!
So it was so expensive.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the printmaking classes because of how expensive the supplies were. Even just the paper is expensive.
Don't you mean the vellum?
Yeah, the vellum. Yes, that's the technical phrase. The vellum.
It's $90 a sheet.
Oh my god, I do not miss those days. Kudos to people who do printmaking still. My roommate is a printmaker. I
love the art form.
There's a reason why the art form's not really around anymore.
Although, actually, if anybody out there watches a YouTube channel by David Bull, like a horned bull, he's a Canadian printmaker who lives in Japan and is trying to single-handedly revitalize the Japanese printmaking arts form.
Best of luck.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. He runs his own shop. He's they work out of this mall in Osaka, Tokyo. Mm-hmm. And there's long like step-by-step process videos and like history videos. They're really interesting, actually. I recommend that if you want to spend a day just learning about Japanese printmaking.
Ooh, I might have to check that out. I love listening to that sort of thing, like in the background on YouTube while I work. My particular favorite genre of choice to play in the background is like video essays about video games or anime, but like obviously Dragon Ball Z. I have thoughts, so many thoughts.
Just watching the abridged series for the 4th time in a row.
Oh man, that or sometimes whenever I feel like I'm like in super hardcore crunch mode and I'm super anxious and I really need to get stuff done, I actually play the playthrough that they did of Dragon Ball Z Raging Blast 2. I love turning that on and having that play in the background because I love the banter that the boys have as they play that game, because that game, like, it looks like you need to play that with a keyboard and mouse because of all the inputs in that game. But it is not. It is an Xbox game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I do love the like character roster for that one because it actually incorporates the Dragon Ball Z movie villains.
Oh.
Like I think it's one of the few games that does that, actually. Not even fighting.
It's like that and Budokai 2 do that.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's a couple of movie villains that get mentioned, or you can actually play as Janemba in Fighters, which I need to get Janemba. I need to get my hands on him. He looks like such fun to play. But that's Fighters. Fighters is an entirely separate beast. 7 different skins of Goku. Anybody? Aren't you tired of those yet?
You can literally have a Goku on Goku match and they can't all be the same.
Yeah, that is exactly what Fighters is. Like, you can play Goku in base form or Ultra Instinct form.
It's a parody of itself at this point.
It is. It's probably why they even put the various skins of Goku in that game in the first place, because it's like, hey, this entire franchise is a joke. It is aware that it is a joke. We might as well run with it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Carlos. Fighters is hilarious.
We got a little off topic there. Should we talk a bit more about the anthology that we're on?
We probably should.
I guess. We're like an hour in.
Yeah, about an hour in. I mean, we talked about it once or twice.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, there's, again, no format for any of these. So it comes up as it comes up. I try to keep it natural.
What's that weird square up in the corner there? Is that important?
It looks like a QR code.
Or something?
Yeah. And it says less than secret.
Who stuffed me into this hole?
Yeah. Like, it's this dark void with like blipping circles, and we're talking about an anthology.
Someone's looking at the two of us through binoculars.
It's like the first Rayman game all over.
Oh no.
The map select screen, which I do not miss that game at all. Oh, getting back on track. That's another shot.
Chug.
Yeah, chug. Oh, yes. So anyway, less than secret. Yeah, this first anthology, we're hoping to do more anthologies after this one. Yeah. We'll see if we can get any more contributors, or if we keep the same roster of contributors after this. I don't know. We've been more focused on running this Kickstarter than we have in talking about any future anthologies at the moment, anyway.
Yeah, like don't count your eggs before they chicken.
Before they Roberta.
But yes, like just looking at the page, I think we're kind of on track, don't you?
I think we are.
Maybe it's pregnant to say that, but I think we'll meet our goal.
I think so. I mean, we met the initial goal. At this point, we're just reaching for stretch goals. Which, like, I'm glad that we hit the initial goal as quickly as we did. We hit it in like 5 hours, which is like, whoa. I'm glad that we hit that though, because that means that this series is actually happening.
Yeah.
And it also means that with the more money that's raised, the higher the page rate goes for all of the contributors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that said, though, I know that you did the cover art for this book, which that cover art features a lot in the promotional material for this anthology.
Has it? I hadn't noticed.
I don't know, man. It's a mystery. It's as mysterious as the Flatwoods Monster, the monster that is in that promotional art. So, okay. Any fun facts about the Flatwoods Monster that you know about?
I actually was going to use your Mothman character at first. Because Flatwoods Monster is not actually in the book. Not to spoil it. I didn't write a story. I just picked a cover.
I feel like Flatwoods Monster might have gotten a mention in Ariane's story.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because she had a bunch of cryptids like show up as like background characters in that one with the Fresno Nightcrawler and all that.
But the Flatwoods Monster is from West Virginia, if memory serves, or maybe Western Virginia, something like that.
I feel like it's been spotted in multiple places. It's not like Mothman, because Mothman has only ever really been spotted in one specific neck of the woods.
Yeah. But it's interesting in that it mostly comes from a single source, and like all the other, like the biggest source for the Flatwoods Monster is one particularly rough night that a bunch of people had, and they say that they saw the Flatwoods Monster. Mm-hmm. And all other sightings of it are basically just imitative after that.
Huh.
No one really seems to agree on what they actually did see. The closest guess is an owl or a space alien or something like that. It doesn't have like the Area 51 cover story mystique to it. It's just sort of a local myth.
Yeah. Still though, it gives me like when you said that there was like only ever one witness of it and it was like eyewitness accounts, it gave me some Blair Witch Project vibes.
Very similar, yeah.
Yeah, like a whole bunch of people going into the woods and suddenly a monster comes out of nowhere. I almost wonder if the Flatwoods Monster was like the basis for that movie.
Could be. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
My older sister watched it when we were like teenagers. I did not see it, but she saw it and she was like, don't bother. It's just a bunch of people dicking around in the woods going, we're effing lost. Like, it's your effing fault that we're lost and blah, 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 blah. And the scary stuff doesn't really happen until like the very end. But it was one of the like first movies that played around with like found footage as a genre.
Yeah, that's one reason it was so successful is it was cheap.
Yeah. It's like I found out in a newsletter that I'm subscribed to that the biggest box office hit of 2020 was something that was filmed on Zoom by two YouTube guys. And it had a budget of 0.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a box office hit in that it made maybe like $3,000 in ticket sales. Maybe.
I mean, you're in the record books anyway.
So. Yeah, you're making records one way or another, so kudos to them for doing that. Yeah. Oh, Carlos being like, spoilers? I mean, we're talking about the cover art, my dude. I mean, I don't know how that's spoilerific, but yeah.
But yeah, you might notice that I like the colors red, black, and gold.
Yes, it's just the uncanniest thing. I've noticed it in your icon, but I didn't want to say anything right away. Yeah.
It's just a proclivity I have, I guess.
Yeah. Something, man. I don't know. No, I do genuinely love the cover art that you made for the book. It's just chef's kiss, stellar. Just so good.
Bellissimo.
Yes, but you have a really good eye for like designing covers. So.
I try.
Yeah, well, you succeed, my dude.
I've actually been a little stuck in thinking that my art is a little too symmetrical lately, so I've been trying to play around with issue number 5 and do some page layouts that don't stick to just the symmetrical sort of like Renaissance patterns format.
Ooh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to talk about Dragon Ball one more time.
All right.
Because if you need an exercise in good page layouts and playing around with page layouts, check out the manga version of Dragon Ball Z in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, oh my God, the thing, Toriyama has such an eye for composing the page.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of very similar, but like a different analog is Oda's manga art for One Piece.
Yeah.
Now Oda's compositions tend to be all kinds of messy, but like the detail and the energy he puts into everything makes it so it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oda will just fill a page with whatever he can think of, but like his core design is so strong, you can still tell what's going on.
Yeah. I can tell by looking at the comic that he just has fun. Like,
oh yeah.
The entire thing is just fun. Like, yeah, they're pirates. This one has the ability to like turn into rubber and do rubber-based abilities, because why not? And it's like, you know what though? I can see how this could be a recipe for fun.
Yeah, but that's like the reason he's designed that way is because he's kind of a callback to earlier, much older styles of anime and manga design, like basically back to rubber hose animation, if you will. Which, when One Piece was first published in like 1998, 1999, was a total drought. Nobody had drawn in a style like that for decades.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that people draw in that art style even today.
It's a bit more. It's sort of a bit more influential because, you know, One Piece is the biggest manga, I think the biggest fiction property in the world.
Yeah, that's true. Once the property takes off, there are like copycats that pop up.
You could sort of, I think a big inspiration, it may have been like a big bleed over into shows like My Hero Academia and One Punch Man, maybe? Certainly the anime of One Punch Man draws a little on One Piece. The original manga, I don't know.
Yeah. I did see Bennett the Sage did a video talking about his thoughts on My Hero Academia, and I don't think he was lying when he was like, oh, it's Naruto version 2.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. And I was never that big of a fan of Naruto to begin with, so I'm like, And then
I could not get into Naruto or My Hero Academia, if I'm honest.
Oh my God, thank you. I felt so alone because, like, my roommate is super into My Hero Academia. A lot of people who I know are into My Hero, and I'm like, I just can't get into it.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but I fell off the anime pretty hard when it stopped, when it had one of its hiatuses. I just didn't go back.
Yeah, I feel that. I will give like Studio Bones this. Any property that they do animation for, they do a stellar job.
Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yes, they are the studio who animates My Hero Academia.
Yeah,
like they do such good work. What's
Amine?
Amine? Yeah, I'm sorry. What's the Amine? Yes. I mean, Ben, you should know you primarily go to anime conventions.
It's called Japanimation. Or at least it was when I saw it, which was 1987.
Yeah, back in my day, the only animes that existed were all about mechs.
And then Evangelion happened.
I still need to see that just to...
I've been wondering, me and my boyfriend have been watching through Yu Yu Hakusho recently, which is like an older, like sort of like classic boys fighting anime.
Oh yeah, I watch that all the time.
But I've been wondering if I should show him Ava, because Ava is a sit.
Yes.
Ava is a challenging show, to say the least, and I'm not sure if that's the kind of thing you sit through with your significant other, or a thing you watch alone and depressed on Saturday nights.
Yeah. It's like Madoka Magica fills that void for me of like, if I ever feel super lonely and I need something to cry to, just turn on Madoka Magica. Yeah, which I haven't felt that way for a while, but I do kind of want to rewatch that series because it had some really good like visual ideas in that series. But Eva is, I've been wanting to watch it for a while, but it does strike me as like you have to be in a mood.
I mean, yes, but also it's more that it will put you in a mood.
Oh yeah, that's like, did not realize that Wolf's Rain fit that bill until I watched it.
That's another one.
Yeah, Wolf's Rain is like, it will put you in a mood.
Watch Ava, then watch Gurren Lagann to balance it out. Actually, Gurren Lagann is like a very different show. I wouldn't call Gurren Lagann a pep up show, really.
Yeah, no, I only ever saw one episode of Gurren Lagann, and
it's something. It's a very good show. It's very stylistically impressive.
Yeah.
I would not call it like the counter drug to Ava, though.
Yeah. The only episode that I saw was, and this could be spoilery, but I also feel like this was in episode 3. The hype man who inspires everybody dies.
Kamiya? Yeah.
Yes, him. Yeah. That was the first episode I saw, was his death, and I'm like, I have no context for this, but this feels heavy. But like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, the end is positive.
Yeah, Ben mentioned last anime I think I watched through was Cells at Work. Highly recommend.
I think the last anime the last new one I watched was Bookseller Honda-san, which is about the skeleton who works at the bookstore.
Oh my god, this sounds delightful.
It's really funny.
Oh my god.
It's a comedy anime from the people who made it's like, they made another anime. I don't remember what it's called. It's about an ancient Roman man who walks into a cursed bathhouse and gets transported to modern day Japan for like 10 minutes at a time.
Oh my god, it's by those people?
Yeah, it's like he sees like modern Japanese conveniences. Like, how can I bring this back to my time period? Therme Rome. That's what it's called.
Yes. Okay.
It's just incredibly funny.
I was that pretentious kid that in high school I took Latin classes. So like Therma Roma it's been on my list of anime to watch for a while, and then I just completely forgot about it until you brought it up, and I'm like, I need to watch this.
It's still funny.
Oh, I love comedies. Like, they have a special place in my heart, obviously, or else I wouldn't talk about Dragon Ball Z so incessantly.
Everybody recommended Retsuko to me, Agretsuko.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I had a friend recommend that too. Chloe recommended that.
I remember Chloe.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about her offline anyway, so all good things, we promise. But funny enough, the last anime that I watched was Promare.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the sister series to Gurren Lagann, is that right?
I don't know if I would call it sister series as much as, like, I mean, it's made by the same studio, or at least like the same set of animators. Studio Trigger did Promare. I don't know if it was Studio Trigger that did Gurren Lagann.
Just a second, I need to check on something. I'll be right back.
Oh, sure. I think now would be a good time for me to just plug Less Than Secret, a cryptid anthology. You can check it out at tinyurl.com/less-than-secret. We have until Monday. The campaign on Kickstarter ends on Monday. But we still have tons of rewards available. You can back it and get copies of the book or commissions. There's a ton of commission slots still open if you would like one of the artists on the anthology to draw something for you. I'm even offering commissions. Like if you pay extra, I will draw a cryptid just for you and it will ship in the mail with your book. Just gonna catch up on comments here really quick. Oh yeah, Carlos brought up same studio but not the same universe. Yeah, I figured as much, but I couldn't remember if it was the same studio, because I know Studio Trigger was actually like a branch off from another studio. Like there were animators at Gygax. I think it's Gygax. Point being, they were animators at a studio and then they branched off and formed Studio Trigger. I just don't remember where in the timeline that split happened.
Okay, I'm back.
Cool. I was just plugging Less Than the Secret while you were away to fill.
Oh, right, that thing we're doing.
Yeah, that thing that we're supposed to be doing, but we haven't been doing.
I mean, I'm the last interview, right?
Yes, and then after that is like to be determined.
Are we gonna have like a rap party? Have we decided that, or
epic rap battles of history, Mothman?
The other rap, you know what I mean?
Well, we do have a stretch goal where if we reach 6,000 in funding, then the creators, part of this anthology project, will do a tabletop RPG stream at some point.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, we've been talking.
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, we've been talking about game systems for what kind of game we would want to run if we actually reached that goal. So, back us if we reach 6,000 in funding, we can make that happen. Carlos commented, "That thing you do minus Tom Hanks."
I hate that movie. Can I just say that? That's one of the most boring movies I've ever seen in my life.
I don't even know what this reference is. This is a movie?
Yeah, it's the first movie Tom Hanks directed. Like not just starred in, directed himself. Oh. It's about a band in the 60s that have like a hit record.
Okay.
And like it just sort of charts their career success. I think it's the least interesting movie I've ever seen, because what it amounts to is like, that's the setup, right? There's no conflict in that movie. There's almost no conflict in that movie. Like, they play their hit song in, I think, 5, 6, 7 different venues. It's the same song every time.
Oh.
There's no conflict. Nothing goes wrong until the end of the movie, the last 5-10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Everything goes perfectly. It's so uninteresting.
Oh, wow. That is something else.
Yeah, it's just, I don't like it.
Yeah, I feel like Carlos might be trying to start a fight already.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I found that movie really boring. Also, there's this sequence toward the end where the main lead and his main female counterpart are talking, and they break the 180-degree rule.
Oh,
which is a very basic filmmaking thing. Like it's not a hard rule, but you kind of need a good reason to defy it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
so when the shots cut, they are both on the same side of the frame. It just looks wrong.
Oh,
I cannot stand it.
Oh, it just sounds gross. Oh,
yeah, I did not enjoy that movie in the least.
I feel like the 180-degree rule is one of those things that, like, it's so implicit that even comics does it.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no thing that says like you absolutely cannot defy this, but if you do, your film should have like a thematic reason to do it. And like, yes, that's like their final emotional scene. What about it needs to break the 180-degree rule?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a anime. It's actually like in my top 3 movies that I love. Period. But it's Paprika, directed by Satoshi Kon.
Still have not seen that.
Oh, highly recommend. It's so good. It's about a therapist who works with another scientist, and they invent a contraption called the DC Mini that allows patients and therapists to connect in the same dream. However, somebody at the facility takes the contraption and they start planting nightmares into people's heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much that.
I know the film just in my head. Like, I remember a couple of very famous shots from it. Have not actually sat through it.
Yeah. There's also a subplot of the detective who's in that movie. He just has his own little journey where he comes to grips with his grief. And part of coming to grips with his grief is talking about movies. Because, like, at first he's like, I do not like movies. I do not watch movies. And then you find out why it is that he's that way. Mm-hmm. But at one point he starts talking about like basic filmmaking rules, and he even like dresses up.
They talk about the 180-degree rule.
They do. They talk about the 180-degree rule, and they talk about pan focus. And it's like, it's cool to see that. Comment from Ben. Interesting. CCS.
Yeah, that's true.
The 180-degree rule doesn't apply to comics. It still works, but it's much more optional.
Yeah, one of the reasons for that is that the frame is always the same shape in a movie, not so in comics.
That's true. That could explain why there was a comic that I read, Asterios Polyp, that did some interesting things with camera angles. But you could tell that it was all set within the same scene in that particular context. It was, you want to talk about a comic that plays around with page layouts. Like Asterios Polyp is one of those comics that like it is its own thing. And yeah. Like I appreciate it for that. And at the same time, it's like, I'm kind of glad that this doesn't get replicated elsewhere. Because like,
actually, we should talk about comics a bit more, because surprisingly little discussion of those here on this comics anthology podcast. I actually haven't read a complete webcomic from beginning to end in like 5-10 years. I think the last one I actually read regularly was yours.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah. But like, I just had a big falling off of them for some reason. I got so busy. Life got pulled in a lot of directions. So I haven't actually sat down and properly read a webcomic in maybe 5 years.
Oh my gosh. You know what though? You're not the only one. I have not read a webcomic from start to end for a long time. I've been reading physical comics, and that's kind of my preferred method of reading them, is just the physical ones. I did actually finish a graphic novel this morning. What was it called? It was like, What Can Possibly Go Wrong? It was a story that was written by a different author, but illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. I did also read. Faith Erin Hicks actually did a prose novel, Comics Will Break Your Heart, which that one's also very good, but it also deals with comics.
Yeah.
She always finds a way. But Nothing Can Possibly Go Wrong is actually a fun romp. I kind of wish that it had a better resolution for the familial drama for it, because it feels so abrupt with how it concludes. It's like, oh, and this is how it ends. And it's like, wait, that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the drama with that story is more about it starts off as like this, traditional jock versus nerd kind of story. Only, one of the jocks is roped into running for student president for a student body, or student council, that's the word. And his friend, who's like the leader of the robotics club, also runs for president. And the reason that this is even happening is because like the jock is being blackmailed into doing it by the cheerleaders, because the cheerleaders want funding for new uniforms. The robotics club is looking for funding to keep their club going. But then by about the middle of it, there's been enough like political drama that eventually the principal's like, okay, neither of your clubs are getting any funding. And so they're like, oh no, what can we do? So they have to like, not necessarily reconcile, but
organize.
Well, the robotics club figures out that there's a robot rumble, and if they take their robot to the robot rumble, they can the grand prize is like $10,000. And so like the robotics team goes up to the cheerleaders and they're like, so here's our proposal. You help us equip this robot so that it can be a battle robot, and if we win first or even second place, we will recoup the cost and still have money left over for both of our clubs. Which I'm glad that it went that direction, because like, it's very tired to have like jock versus nerd, in my opinion. Yeah. So like, I'm glad that it went.
I don't think that really exists in modern school anyway. I don't really know if I've ever heard like a modern Gen Z or Gen X or even talk about that anymore.
Yeah, I've only ever seen it in the movies, and I think the movies only really do that because they're looking for like, easy stereotypes.
Yeah, it's just kind of old.
Yeah, it very much is. So like, I'm really glad that this graphic novel went in a different direction. And to be fair to it, it isn't even so much like jock versus nerd as much as it is like two groups who are trying to get funding for their respective clubs, and they just clash because of their methods. So like, I will give it that. It was a fun read. It was very cute.
What's this title again?
Nothing Can Possibly Go Wrong. Nothing Can
Possibly Go Wrong. Okay, writing that down.
Yeah, and in case any of y'all at home are wondering, this video will get archived on YouTube, so you can just give this a listen if you need to catch the title again. Ben mentions mildly controversial, but also The Sculptor by Scott McCloud. Great for quote-unquote camera angles.
Have not read that one.
That one's actually really good. I had a lot of fun reading that one. It's more of a drama, but I think it's very good. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like other comics that I've read recently. I've been reading a lot of like novels and listening to a lot of audiobooks, because like, how else are you going to pass the time whenever you're working in the studio, right?
Right.
Yeah. Kind of hard to listen to an audiobook version of comics. They technically exist. They're more like dramatic readings.
Yeah, I've seen like motion comics happen sometimes. Those were kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they don't really add very much to the art form though.
Yeah, no, not really. When I read the Less Than Epic Adventures of TJ in a Mall when it was online, there were actually some pages that were like gifted,
yeah,
jifed,
joofed.
I'm gonna have to share that one with Alex, because she and I like to joke about the pronunciation of that word.
Yeah.
So joofed. There were a couple of pages that got joofed. And like, it was neat to see the visual effect, but I'm not sure that it's anything that you would miss when it goes into print, you know? Yeah. There's something about comics as an art form that just, it works best in print, I think.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why Angela, one of the contributors to Less Than Secret, she and I design our webcomics with print in mind first.
See, I'm the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, because print is so expensive.
That's true.
ATW was always designed to be viewed on the internet first, which is also why its print editions were extremely hard, because neon colors and dark purples don't come through on ink very well.
Oh yeah, that would just come out.
So I'm really glad for the last publisher I had, who made the first 3 issues on paper, but I've never been completely satisfied with how the color plate came out. And eventually, when I re-release it and update it for its collected print run, I want to make sure I go over that personally.
Yeah. Yeah, because like, it can be really hard to get the dark colors that you want. I know that was something with Less Than Secret that Ben and Rainer have been going back and forth about, with the printer that we've been looking at and trying to get the grays right.
Did we sort that out or not? I missed it.
Hey Rainer, if you're still in the chat, shout out in the comments, like, any updates on that.
I know it is much easier to adapt for print at the start, but like I was never sure if I was going to print ATW at all, so I just completely passed the issue, and now I'm eating my words. What have I done? My hubris.
I know. At the same time, like, you do have itch.io, and that enables you to sell like digital stuff, and
and like, also I still have the original like uncompressed files. I can change the color plates if I absolutely need to. Yeah. That'll be a lot of work, but I can.
Yeah. The librarian in me is thinking about like the archiving of comics, and like trying to figure out how we can archive digital comics, because digital media in general is really hard to archive.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. Like, even CDs wear down. and they break really easy. And that's saying something, considering that there are still VHS tapes that actually work, as long as you don't put a magnet on them.
Yeah, it's just that with VHS, the horrible grainy and wobbly signals.
Oh yeah.
The picture quality is just bad from the get-go.
It is. And I've not seen beta tapes. Beta was the format before VHS.
Yeah, I never have seen a beta tape in the wild.
I think I've seen them, but not in the wild. I worked at Bowling Green. There's the Pop Culture Library.
I remember that.
Yeah, they're closed stacks, but and by closed stacks, for folks who don't know, that means that you have to know what it is that you're looking for. Submit a request to the librarian, and the librarian will fetch it for you.
Yeah, because so much of that stuff is incredibly delicate.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The pulp magazines alone cannot see sunlight, because if they do, they will crumble. So, and you have to handle those with special gloves. Because even like the finger oil making contact with the pulp magazines, because of how aged they are, the oil will destroy the page. Like, it is intense how you have to archive and house these things. They do have beta tapes at the Pop Culture Library, because like they have like movie reels, they have movie scripts, pulp magazines, dime novels. They have so many dime novels, y'all. So many. Like, there is an entire section in the back rooms that is nothing but dime novels. And there's also like an entire section that's just Star Trek paraphernalia. That
was something I really wanted to look into at one point.
Yeah,
because well, it's interesting. Star Trek conventions in the 60s and 70s are kind of the origin point for furry conventions. Because very early on, back when it was called the Funny Animal comic strip, there would be like the quarantined off furry party at whatever Trekkie convention you were going to. Yeah. And eventually they got so loud and numerous they just started making their own in the mid 80s.
You know what, though? That's fair. I mean, Star Trek conventions were like the origin point for a lot of things in fandom. Yeah. Like Comic Cons were a branch off from Star Trek conventions. Zines started with like, I don't want to say they started with Star Trek zines, but Star Trek zines were what made them popular.
Right.
Because zines have been around for ages, but it was Star Trek that really like popularized them and made them like easy, largely because at the time, that was when photocopiers were invented. And it was so much easier to replicate comics at that point, and zines.
Yeah, the last convention I went to, somebody actually brought their sort of collection, because occasionally you still find people trading it, of like ancient of the time, late 80s, early 90s zine art.
Oh,
like
man.
Just made on people's home Xeroxes. It's like, this is what they made back when they were still communicating on BBS. Does anybody in our audience even know what a BBS is?
Oh man, I'm not even sure I know what BBS is, but
it's imagine a internet forum before we had forum software. That's basically a BBS, bulletin board system.
Oh, that okay. That's what the initialism stands for.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was the name for those things, but I know what you're talking about. Those are
back when your collaboration in a fandom was like, please return your prompt post card to this address to get a zine subscription.
Oh my God, yes. I just keep getting callbacks to pirate radio. Pirate radio works a lot the same way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that the one where you got to mail away and they'll tell you the code and the frequency they're on for the date?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Ben is talking about libraries and stuff. Angela is the one to ask. She brought the issue up. I don't know if she got a resolution. Oh, talking about printers and how the Greys came out and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you remember when, actually talking about that anthology I was in before, you remember when we saw the physical copy?
Yes.
And it was on that awful newsprint, and there was this big empty stripes down the page.
Yeah.
I don't know what went wrong there.
I don't know either. But I got the impression that there was some behind the scenes stuff that happened with that anthology.
It took them a year to pay me.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like Ben, Rainer, we're keeping eyes on you. Just kidding. I appreciate you guys. But no, this is honestly one of the like best organized like comics projects that I've been a part of for a while. This anthology has, like, it kind of helps that we have our own Discord where we can talk about, you know, the stories that we've been working on and how to get the word out.
That's been an enormous help.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. Like, you've been in more anthologies than I have. Like, is that like standard?
Not in my experience, no. The anthologies I've been in, it's mostly just been like, submit to the editor, and you will get a yes or no response.
Yeah, that's been my experience in the past too. But like, it's been really nice to have like a Discord where we can all like chat about our relative stories, and people can reach out to you directly and all of that. Ben mentions printing always requires some trial and error. We'll get it figured out, and the check is in the mail.
I sent you a check. It's in the mail.
Yep. Okay. Well, if anybody in the audience has questions for us regarding Less Than Secret or comics or anything like that, pop them off in the comments. Because we've been on air for like an hour and 46 minutes. I figure we can spend the next 15 minutes answering, chat questions.
Audience Q&A? Yeah,
like an audience Q&A kind of deal. We've been fapping around. I mean, why not?
Watch it. This is a family stream.
I know. This is a Christian chat. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, okay. Questions? Well, I mean, if you have any questions for me about comics or anything.
What have I missed in the past 5 years? I'm kidding. I follow you on Patreon. I know, right? I did before you left.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard about this thing called Webtoon. I'm just kidding.
Oh man, I thought about Webtoon, but they don't allow NSFW either. So
yeah, no, they don't. They also, I don't even know if they allow like fan comics, because like I've been thinking about branching into fan comic stuff. Ben asks, does JD in fact have a face?
For all intents and purposes, no. I'm just a very warm voice that people hear over the radio. That's it.
I don't think there's anything
that's the real trick. I'm illustrated and fictitious. Some other guy draws me who you'll never hear.
JD, the real cryptid of this project.
Right now I am sporting the absolute worst haircut I've had in 15 years. I cannot wait for my second shot to get an actual barber to get at it.
You know what, though? I feel like there's a valid excuse for having awful hair. Yeah, like, I shave mine. Like, I shave the sides and back of my head myself, because, like, I don't necessarily feel like going to a hairstylist or a barber, considering everything going on right now.
I mean, but like, I would, but I also don't trust myself with a pair of clippers, so...
No,
I feel like I'd mess it up pretty bad.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like that took a long time for me to get over that fear. Carlos says, "My freaking ears." I'm gonna guess that's in response to like the dulcet tones of your voice being on the radio.
Yes.
Yes.
You've reached Less Than Secret. What are you wearing?
Ben says 2020 was my excuse to finally become a full-blown ponytail boy.
Yeah, that's not really my thing.
Yeah, chop it off. No, I'm just joking.
But no, like I do answer like audience questions as just part of a thing on Patreon and also on ATW eventually soon, whatever.
Yeah, because that's like the central conceit of Ask the Werewolves is like you just ask a werewolf any question that you want about werewolves.
Yeah, you ask the characters questions, they respond with funny jokes. Stopped doing it in like August of last year because I just didn't have the just didn't have the energy or the time anymore. But I'm going to bring it back before the next issue is out.
I mean, that's fair.
Also, an awful lot of here's the thing: it's like it's on WordPress.
Oh yeah,
and an awful lot of WordPress questions were just either A, questions that we'd already answered on Tumblr, or B, when will you answer my question?
Yeah, which
an awful lot of people were just like, I can't write jokes about that.
Yeah, it can be hard to come up with a joke for that kind of question. It makes me yearn for the days of Ask a Ninja, where like somebody had asked him, "What is the circumference of a moose?" And his answer was, "It's Michael Palin with his face shoved into a pie times Douglas Adams squared."
Yep, that sounds like 2010's low random humor, all right.
But it's still, I'm not gonna lie, that's one of my favorite 2010 online jokes that I've ever heard.
You, sir, have just won the internet.
Exactly. Like I love jokes like that. There's a lot of 2010 humor that like I'm totally fine with leaving it back in 2010. But jokes like that, what is the circumference of a moose? That just, I love it. Yeah, Ask a Ninja. Ask a Ninja was pretty great. Yeah. He's a lot of fun. And he can be fun on rewatch too. Depending. There are some episodes that are like miss, but other ones that are just funny. Like the omnibus episodes. The circumference of a moose question actually comes from the first omnibus that he did, where he just answers rapid fire different questions that people have submitted. I will say, talking about 2010 internet culture, there's a little part of me that's, kind of glad that Channel Awesome is not as popular as it was.
Oh, God damn it. I knew we were going to get on that topic eventually.
It was only a matter of time.
Yeah. I mean, let's not talk about it, except that I will point people to the video of Dan Olson's Doug Walker's The Wall.
Oh my God, yeah.
Dan Olson has a recent response video on it that basically just sums up everything that you need to know with regards to that topic from the future.
Yeah.
And like also, that's for me, that's going to be the point where I stop paying attention to that issue completely. I'm done.
You know what? That's fair. And honestly, I had stopped paying attention to it until I saw Dan Olson do a video about The Wall. And I was like, well, I like Dan Olson's videos. I'll give this a watch and see what's been going on. And as it turns out, Channel Awesome has not really changed.
Cringe. There's no other word for it. This makes me cringe. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, this is embarrassing. Which, yeah. And honestly, Dan Olson's commentary about the original Pink Floyd's The Wall makes me actually want to check out The Wall. Like
that is also a sit.
Yeah, Pink Floyd's The Wall. Yeah, it does look like a sit. Like, it does not look like an upper by any means. I
have only seen it the one time, and I remember being uncomfortable and not liking it. But that's back when I was like 20. So yeah, and probably nobody gave you any context for it either. No, I think it was part of a class, if I remember right, but I don't remember which one. What it was talked about in a class? Yeah, History of Animation. That's what we did. Oh, we watched the Goodbye Blue Sky segment of it. Oh, I only saw the bits and pieces that were mentioned in the Dan Olson video, but like, ow. Yeah, and like we had to watch the whole thing as part of an assignment. You know what though? Kudos if you made it all the way through that, because like barely. Yeah, that looked like a hard watch. Yeah, which kudos to the animators who worked on that bit of the video, because like, you want to know something kind of funny? The animation director for The Wall went on to make Hercules with Disney. Yep, he did a lot of the character designs. Yep, that's why Hades looks the way that he does, because it's designed by the same guy who did Pink Floyd's The Wall. We dance, we kiss, we smooze, we go home after. What do you say? Yeah. Wait, what was that? Sorry, I'm just quoting the movie. Oh no, like Hercules is a fun movie. It's a good movie. Yeah.
talking about, thinking about Kingdom Hearts now, and like it's unfortunate how they keep making the voice actor James Woods relevant when he really shouldn't be.
No, not really.
Yeah, no. But that's
the good news is Kingdom Hearts 3 finally came out.
Yes, about freaking time.
And by all accounts, it was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I had fallen off the series for a while, and then I caught up on it by watching cutscenes and all that stuff. And yeah,
you did the after school video rental version of catching up on Kingdom Hearts.
Yes, because I am not playing the 3DS games. I don't have a 3DS, and I'm not buying it just to play that game. No thanks.
It's almost like companies should re-release video games or something.
Yeah, and you know what? I will give Kingdom Hearts kudos for that, where they were
they have been better than most series about keeping you up to date.
Oh my god, right? Like with their
you don't need to buy a Game Boy Advance for Chain of Memories anymore.
Oh my god, that's so nice. Because nobody plays Game Boy Advance anymore. Oh, but yeah.
And they're coming to PC, so you'll be modding?
I mean, there's a reason that Super Butterbuns made the joke of like, and then they released the game on an iPhone strapped to a swallow. Because it's such a running joke with the Kingdom Hearts franchise, but I'm so glad that they did the remastered collections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that it's kind of like 2000s cringe now, but Kingdom Hearts being so unabashedly weird is one thing I earnestly love about it.
Yes.
They are not afraid to just put the wackest, craziest thing in their video game and make it canon.
Yep.
No hesitation.
I love that about the series. It's just like it 110% owns the central conceit of it, and is just like it does not apologize.
No.
Yeah.
More fiction should do that. No test audiences.
Oh my god, right? Oh, it would be so nice. and just I will give Kingdom Hearts 3 this too. I love the character interactions in that game. Like there's so much about the characterizations that I'm just like, you know what? That would happen though.
I like this Toy Story alternate universe where Andy started to collect anime figurines.
Or at least there's like an anime store where there's anime figurines. Which is just like, oh man. Or
ever show you that video? It's like it's just called like going to the furniture store, and it's just Woody from Toy Story, and the song goes, "You got a bit nice."
I don't think I've seen this. No,
I should find that on Twitter or something like that.
Oh my god!
The song is like 5 seconds long.
Oh my gosh! Share that with me. I want to see that.
I'll find it somewhere. I got to dig it up.
Yep. Oh, video game things. Reminded me when I first showed you the YouTuber Cat Icarus, I showed you that A Bug's Life review that he did, and you practically died at the Duke joke.
Dude,
I'm not going to elaborate. Yeah.
Oh god.
I'm not going to elaborate on what it is. Like if
they can look it up.
Yeah, if y'all want to know what we're talking about, look it up. Cat Icarus, A Bug's Life. Because, like, yeah, when that joke hits, you don't expect it.
Oh man, that's almost been 2 hours.
It's almost been 2 hours, and we should spend the next like minute and a half or whatever just talking about comics. like we probably should have, but like at the same time, I don't mind that we went off in so many different directions.
Well, if anybody wants to catch up with me and what I'm doing, warning, a lot of what I do is for adults.
Yeah.
You can find me
online if you want to be found.
Yeah, we can go to patreon.com/JD Laclede. That's where I post most of my stuff early for $2 a month.
Ooh.
But if you don't want to pay, you can also find me at askthewerewolves.com or at JDL Art on Twitter, or also ellendon.com, although Ellendon is again on hiatus, so who knows when I'll make the next chapter of that. Been meaning to consolidate lately. I also have, I should actually just give you the link in the chat.
Sure. I mean, I could also add a title card as well.
Yeah. I recently started my LLC, so eventually you'll be able to find things at giant.com.
Ooh. Okay.
Eventually. I still have to make that website.
Oh no, I totally get you. I've been wanting to make fantasyvilleproductions.com for a while. This website right here. Is that right?
There is nothing there at the moment. There will be eventually.
Eventually, but like, save it, bookmark it. This stream will be archived for future reference if you ever want to check it out later. It's just at the moment, there's nothing there. And if you would like to check out JD's stuff, patreon.com/JD Laclede. If you want to check out any of my stuff, including the webcomic that I do, The Legend of Jamie Roberts, that is at linktree/KelseyD. All of my links are on there because I have so many. Yeah, I mean, there's the I don't think Twitter is on there, but I do have Neverending, Ko-fi, this live stream, The Legend of Jamie Roberts, and a bunch of other stuff.
God, like, we got too many links. We got to consolidate things again.
We have so many links.
Why are we so spread out? I hate it. I gotta put my thumb in all these stupid app pies if I want to make any money. I hate it.
Well, Less Than Secret will help get us a little bit closer to making that moolah. Yes, which you can check that out at tinyurl.com/lessthansecret.
We're almost at $6,000.
We're almost there, y'all. We have until Monday to reach that goal. Also, there's commission slots still available. So if you would like one of the artists on the anthology to make a piece of art for you, odds are pretty high your favorite artist is still available to draw commissions. Hint, hint, wink, wink. tinyurl.com/lessthansecret.
Go get them.
Go get them. So, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I actually just want to congratulate everybody in our anthology collection for pulling it off. I was really blown away by the quality of. I was really blown away by the amount of work I didn't have to do because you're all really pretty good already. Like I said, it was mostly punch up, just making your stories a little bit better. Yeah, no, they were pretty exceptional from the beginning.
Oh, well, thank you, my dude. Well, it helps that you were there with us to help punch up stuff, to add that little bit more polish.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely would do this again.
Oh, heck yeah. Ben said, "Oh, shucks."
Well, dang.
Well, won't toot my own horn. Like, my goodness, all these comic stories are so good.
And we get so few male callers around here these days.
I know. Oh my gosh. But no, it has been a blast to work on this anthology with everybody. And also, thank you for everybody for sitting through all of these creator interviews. I know that we just talk about anything and everything on these shows, but at the same time, I just love chatting with everybody about pretty much anything and everything. So, like, thank you for, sitting and watching these. And also thank you, JD, for joining me on this stream.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I think we can call it there for now. So thank you, everybody, for sitting in with us and hanging out with us for the last 2 hours. Oh my gosh. Ben, I do declare I am having a case of the vapors.
It makes no damn sense.
I know.
Compels me, though.
We're in this black magic box and somehow we're getting the vapors. Yeah.
I say there is a donut's hole inside a donut hole.
And the donut hole is talking.
Anyway.
We're talking about some comic anthology called Less Than Secret. Always find a way to show.
Do you think we've kind of reached our limit if we're going into the Foghorn Leghorn jokes?
I feel like we probably could keep going, but we can just wrap it there for now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Anyway, okay. Deep breath. Back focus. So,
All right.
okay.
Find your center.
Yeah. Find your center. Less Than Secret on Kickstarter until Monday. If you are broke, though, please share the link far and wide with hashtag Less Than Secret. Ben was like, nice knives out, deep cut.
Cut, get it?
Yeah. Knives Out, great movie if you have not seen it yet.
But that's basically it. We just wait 3 days and then we're done.
Yeah. I mean, stay tuned for any further updates. Any updates as far as if we're going to do another stream on Saturday, that will be at tinyurl.com/lessthansecret. Check the updates section for any further updates on that. There's also draw this in your style challenges and coloring challenges in the updates section as well. That's all I've got, I think. So
that's all I got, I think.
Yeah. But thank you so much, everybody, for your support, whether you back the campaign or you help spread the word. Again, hashtag Less Than Secret. So that is it. JD, do you have any sign-offs that you would like to say?
Thanks for having me. Thanks for putting it together.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of everybody.
Oh, I'm so pleased with everybody. Like, this has been like a great team to work with, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also you've been a fantastic editor to help punch up everything. And like it's been great to see this book come together and see all of the different stories and how they all work. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. You are awesome.
Awesome.